For this session, I want to show you how to add the roof to your building. And I want to model different types of roofs here for you. So what I'm going to recommend that you do, if you haven't done this already, is do a search. And let me just put this up on the screen for all of you to see. And all I did was type in roof types. And I clicked on all. And I'm going to click on images. So it shows me the images. And the one site that I really appreciate is this one by Owens Corning. All of them are fine, but for some reason this one, when I click on it, it gives me a decent description of what these roofs are, how they're defined, what they mean. So there you go, roof design, shape, and styles. So what I'd like to do is focus on a flat roof and then switch over and show you how to do a hip roof and then a gabled roof. The others, if you're interested in doing, let me know, but those three should work out just fine. And then you can scroll down here. You can see the roof type. So there's the gable that I want to show you. That one's a clip gable. We'll skip the Dutch gable, the hip roof, and then the flat roof. And when they say low slope roof, that means that a roof is never flat entirely. There's always going to be a slight slope to it so that the water can drain off of it when it rains. And if we get a heavy snowfall, then as the snow starts to melt, it can drain off in a direction. But I like this one because it's really showing us that a roof has a thickness. And you'll notice how on the other roofs, you're going to see that same thickness. It's just treated somewhat differently. So the shed roof, here's the thickness of that roof here on the edge. And you're also going to see the thickness over there. If I move back up to the hip roof, you'll see how we have that edge there. And this edge is referred to as our soffit. And then we're going to have a pitch to it. Now, I'm going to ignore the pitch. I'm just going to give it a decent value. But if you want to know more about roof pitches, you can read this page. And then let's go back to the first one, the gabled roof here. So I'm going to do this edge as well. And what this edge represents is the thickness of your roof joists. Let me put another screen and another image on the screen here so you can see what I mean. I'm going to bring this over. And this is the house getting framed out, and these are your roof joists, and this is what's keeping the roof or creating that roof structure. And you don't see that from the inside of your house, but you notice how there's a thickness here. And we're just going to assume a thickness of 12 inches. And we'll say nominal 12 inches. When we do that, nominal in architecture, we use that a bit with wood, is just a rounded number. And then there's something called the actual number. I won't get into it. It's not a construction class. Just know that if we go with 12 inches, we should be okay. Even if you went with 10 inches, you should be okay for that thickness on that roof edge. So just want to share that with you. And you're more than welcome to look at other examples. Feel free. But I will go ahead and get started here with these roof types. Let me move this out of the way and dock it over on a separate side of my screen. There we go. And then I will go ahead and begin. So for my roof, I'm going to think about this for a second, and then I'm going to come over here to my tags. And I do want a roof tag, but I'm going to put that roof tag on after. Sometimes when I do it before, I forget to make that tag my current tag, and I don't draw on it. So I'd rather do it after the fact. So let's say I want to have a roof here. And let's say that our roof is going to have what's called an overhang. In other words, stick out away from the building. And you can have it stick out 6 inches, 8 inches, 12, whatever you'd like. I'm going to make mine come out 1 foot 6 inches. So to begin, I'm going to look at the footprint of my building, and I'm going to assume that I'm going to have this area covered. So I'm just going to go with a nice rectangle on my building and then offset that. So I'm going to start with a rectangle, and I'm going to start at this corner right here. Let it find that endpoint, take it across, let it find that other endpoint here, And then if you see it doing some really interesting things because it's not finding that axis that it should be on, go ahead and use the up arrow key to constrain it to blue. So I'll do this, and that would be my roof for the beginning of it. And this is where you would have your roof joists, and that's what we're going to make 12 inches in just a minute. So that's the roof for the most part. And I'm going to tap the space bar, and then I'm going to take my 3D walls and turn those off because I just want to focus on the roof itself, and I'll leave the windows and the doors where they are. And then from here, what I'm going to do is offset. So I'm going to use the offset tool, hover over any edge, and when it tells you it's on the edge, give it a click. And then I'm going to take it out 1 foot 6 inches. I typed that in. You can see that in the distance, and then I enter. And then what I'd like to do is just come in and type E for erase, and erase this extra line here, and then the other remaining lines. And then tap the space bar. And I'm going to turn on my 3D walls so I can see where this is in relation to my building. So there's the overhang I wanted. So I've got that done. Great. I'm going to turn 3D walls off again. And then I'm going to come in here and type P for push pull, let it hover, give it a click, take it up 12 inches. So I type in 12 and enter. And then I tap the space bar, and then I will triple click and then right click, make a group. And then I'll bring back my 3D walls. So this is basically what that flat roof would look like. And I know I mentioned earlier that there would be a slope to it, but because we're modeling this and we want a nice representation of a flat roof, we're not going to give it a slope or a pitch, as it's called also. We're not going to angle it, nothing. Just let it be flat and let it represent our building. And that is good enough for what we're doing. Now from here, what I may want to do, as a personal preference, is maybe have the roof come out along the front here so that part of this outdoor space is covered. So I'm going to double click my roof. So I'm editing the group. Everything else goes away, which means that I've have my settings set to hide the other objects. So I'm just going to come over here and go to View, Component Edit, and turn that off so it does not hide rest of model. And then I'm going to type P for push pull. Take this face, give it a click, and I'm going to bring it forward. Let's see, a nice covering there. Let's say I bring it out 4 feet on top of the 1 foot 6 that's already on the overhang. So I'll type in 4 feet, enter, and then I'll tap the space bar and then click away from the group. So this is what I've done. Now, if you look at this, you may say to yourself, it looks like that roof overhang might be a little much. And maybe it is. And if you wanted to, you can always put a post out here and you're fine. If you want to leave it as it is now, that's okay also. But this would be the flat roof. And then the last thing I would do is I would come over here and find a material, either a color material, or if you look at, well, roofing here, but we don't actually have a roof with a pitch, so we're not going to do any of these roofing tiles. So I would just go with a regular color, like a solid color like this. Find one that you like, and for the sake of time, I'm just going to pick this. No, not blush petal. That might not work. I'll go almond blush. Click on this, and then apply it to my roof, and I'm all set there. And then I can orbit around. And that would be fine. Now, let's say that when you come to the entry, maybe you do want this. Sorry, let me tap the space bar. Maybe at the entry, you want this to kind of set back a little bit, and that's fine to do that. I want to show you how you would do that. I'm going to double click on the roof, and then let's say I draw myself a line. Actually, no, not a line. I'll go with a rectangle, and I'll draw a rectangle, and I'll take it from here. Let it just find the endpoint, take it across, up arrow for blue axis to constrain. And then let's say I put it right here. It looks like the length that I'm going to enter first, I'll make it, let's see, 7 feet. Sure, 7 feet. And then in the other direction, let me do a comma and I'll just type in 4 feet. Enter. And it looks like I didn't want to do that. Glad I made that mistake. I'm going to edit, undo, and start over. Try again. Rectangle. I'm going to start right here, take it in this direction. So now it's giving me 3 by 9, 5 by 10. All right, now I'm changing things up. I'll go 6 by 12. Okay. 6 feet, comma, 12 feet. Enter. All right. Better. I'm just wanting you to see what's one way to adjust the roof here is all. All right, and then I type P for push pull, hover here on that surface, click, and then take it straight down until it lines up with that face, and then give it a click. And then you're able to remove that portion of the roof if you would like to. All right, I'm going to tap the space bar and I will undo. And undo that also. I'll leave mine flat like this. All right. So now I will create my tag. I'm going to click on the plus sign here. And I'm just going to call this one 3D roof like this. And then, because I'm going to be doing multiple roofs, I'm going to save this one as roof, and I'm just going to call this one flat. You don't have to do this. If you just want to create a tag, call it 3D roof, you're all done. But if you're not sure if you want to go with a flat roof, a gabled roof, or a hip roof, you can do this, and then you can study the different types of roofs by toggling the tags, turning them on and off. So that's kind of nice. So I'm going to enter, and then I will continue. I'll pick the roof. I'm going to come up here to my default tray, entity info, and I'm going to tag it under 3D roof flat. Click off of it. Let me collapse my materials, and then I'm going to double check and see if it's tagged correctly. So if I turn this off, great. Turn it on. There we go. The next roof type I'd like to put in is a hip roof. And let me just bring that over again so you can see what that looks like. And I'll just click right here. Give it a moment to load. There we go. I'll scroll down. All right, so there's the hip roof. Notice how it's similar to the flat roof. And I'm just adding some more joists along the top to give it this pitch and then finish that roof. So that'll be the hip roof. So I'm going to move this out of the way and I'll close this and we can continue. I will start from scratch. So I'll turn off this flat roof and I will begin. This time, I think I want to offset 2 feet. So I'm going to draw a rectangle from this endpoint over to that endpoint. Got it. I'm going to offset, hover along the edge. When it says on edge, I click it, and then I'm going to take it out 2 feet, enter. That's just a personal preference. You can make it any length you want. I'm going to tap the space bar, turn off my 3D walls, just so I can focus on my surface here. I'm going to click off of that, and then I'll select this line, tap the delete key. And then instead of picking each line individually, I can double click or no, sorry, I think, yeah, double click. No, triple click. Let's see. Yeah, triple click. And it's going to select all of the lines because they're all connected. And then I'll tap the delete key. It's just quicker that way. Next, I'm going to give it my thickness, that soffit. I think I said soffit Fascia is, I think, what I meant, along the outside. So I'm going to type P for push-pull, click here, take it up, type 12, and enter. Tap the space bar. Now, I can make a group out of it right now and then work within the group, or because it's not affecting anything else that I'm doing, I'll just keep modeling and then make a group afterwards. So like we had done with the conceptual masses, it's just a matter of drawing a line from one midpoint to the other. So I'm going to type L, and then I'm going to go from that midpoint in the back here, and I'll take it over to the midpoint here. Give that a click. Tap the space bar. Okay. And then from here, I'm going to select the line, and I'm going to type M for move. Hover, as long as it picks the edge, I give it a click. I know I want it to go straight up, not perpendicular. So I'm going to use my up arrow key. And I'm just going to give it a height. Now, it needs to be a slope. And when we use slopes, it's usually based on a rise versus a run. So if you go up, let's say 3 inches, then you would go across 12 inches, and that's what we refer to as a 3/12 slope. But I'm going to ignore all of that now, just so that we can learn how to model a roof here. So I'm going to take it up a height of 5 feet because 5 feet looks good. So 5 feet, enter. I don't know what slope that is, and it doesn't matter. But I have a nice roof to get started here. Okay. Tap the space bar, click away from it. We're getting there. Now it's just going to be a matter of taking this point and the opposite point back. But before I do that, just like I did with my conceptual masses, if I type M for move and I hover right here on this endpoint and I start to move it back, I'm going to get some really interesting results. So I'm going to tap the escape key, and then I'm going to type L for line. I'm going to pick this face or this endpoint over to this endpoint. And by doing that, I've now created 2 surfaces. Tap the spacebar, type M for move, hover over that endpoint, let it find the endpoint, then give it a click. And now when you start to move it back, it's constraining, so that's good. I'm going to give it the same value as the height. So I'm going to type in 5 feet, enter. And then when I look at it along the side, it should have a similar pitch. And if it doesn't, it's okay. We're just trying to show a nice hip roof here. So I'll go to the back side. Let me pan over, type L, line from this endpoint over to this endpoint. Spacebar, and then type M for move from this endpoint. Let it constrain along red, and I'll type 5 feet, enter. Then I tap the spacebar, and then I start to orbit around just to see what it looks like. And now that I'm ready, I can triple click, right click, and make a group. Done. Now, I want to put my shingles at the top, but I also want this fascia here to be to have a color, a painted color, similar to my flat roof. So let me start there. So I'll go to my materials, and then I'm going to look for a color. Well, let's go with this one for now. Actually, golden beige. I may have used this before. Vanilla cream might work. All right, I'll give that a click, and I'll select my roof. Done. And now I'll go over to my roof materials. So roofing. And then I have some roofing here. Let's see. 4 different styles. These are new. I don't know what they look like. I want to click over here for a second under details. I have it set to large thumbnails. I'm going to check this to extra large thumbnails so I can get a better view. All right. And I think out of all of these examples, I think I prefer this roofing material. But before I apply it, I'm going to tap the space bar, double click inside of my group. Sorry. Escape, space bar, double click. There we go. And then come over here to my roofing material, give it a click, and then apply it to my 4 sides. 2 sides there. And then 2 sides here. Tap the space bar, click away from your solid object, your group rather, and that would be the roof. I'll bring back my walls. So I can take a look at my building. And then I will create a new tag. This one's going to be 3D roof. And it's going to be called hip. Enter. Select the roof. Go over to your entity info. And I'll put it on that hip roof. I'll collapse the materials. And now I'll turn off that hip roof. And then I'll turn on my flat roof. So this is what I mean about being able to see the different options. And then I can have them both on at once. And then I'll turn that one off so I can study my hip roof. Now would be a good time to save. So Control S to save your model. To continue with the roof, I did mention earlier to go ahead and save. And I just want to show you, when you click on File, Save, you're probably going to see this message where it says Purge Unused. You don't have to purge anything yet. And I would say, click No, because you can always purge this later. And who knows, there might be some unused components or materials that you want to use. So go ahead and just say no to this for now, and you'll be okay. All right, so the last roof I want to put on here is going to be, let me bring this over. It's going to be the gable roof. And when you put in a gable roof, I just want to show you what that underlying structure looks like. This is an image I borrowed from a website. So what's happening is the building, the material, in my case, the brick, it's going all the way up to the underside. So I'm going to show you how to take care of that. But I need to start first with the roof itself. So let me go there. Let me move this off the screen and then move this as well. And go ahead and get started with my gable roof. So I'm going to turn off my hip roof. My flat roof is already off. And I'll begin with the gable. And I'm going to zoom and pan over this way. And I'll start just like I did before by drawing a rectangle. So rectangle. And notice how I'm picking corners that are existing. I'm not starting at this corner over here to try and get over to that side because there's nothing there. So I'm cutting across the diagonal in this direction, like this. And I just have to make sure it picks the right endpoint like that. There we go. And then I'll offset this 1 foot. I'm just trying different overhangs. So I'll click over here on offset, hover over the edge, let it find the edge, give it a click, and then take it out, and I'll type in 12 and enter. It'll default to inches. Tap the space bar. I'm going to come over here and turn off my walls so that I can focus on just my roof. Give this one line a click and then delete it. And then triple click this line so it picks the other 2 because they're all connected, and tap the delete key. And then from here, what I'm going to do is offset my 12 inches. Do I want to do that now? Yes. So sorry, I'm thinking of a lot of different ways to do this, but this should work out. So I'm going to click right here, raise it 12 and enter. And then what I've decided that I want to do is I want to take this face, and before I do anything else, I'm just going to give it a click and bring it out, bring it forward. I'll say 6 feet. So 6 feet, enter. That's just a personal preference. You don't have to do that. And then I'm going to turn on my 3D walls just to see what this is looking like as I develop the roof. And now I will continue. So just like I did with my hip roof, I need to draw a line down the midpoint. So I type L, hover at this, on this edge, but I keep moving my cursor until it finds the midpoint. Hopefully I'm near it. There we go, midpoint. And then take it straight across so I can find that midpoint. And then I'm going to type P. Actually, no, don't want to push pull. I'm going to type M to move this line. And notice how as I'm moving around, it will find the line. Normally I pick the line first and then I go ahead and type M, but doing it reversed this way is fine. I'm going to give that a click and I'm going to raise it. And this time I'm just going to give it a little bit more height, but not too much. I'm going to constrain to the blue axis, so up arrow. And I'm looking at my movement and then I'm looking at the distance in the lower right corner. And I'm just going to round to the nearest whole foot. So I'll make this 7 feet and enter. And then I'll orbit, take a look at what I have, and continue. All right. So if I look at the example, let me bring this back onto the screen so you can see it. You see how there's also an edge along the front here. And that's what I want to address now. This is all part of that structure. So I'm going to keep it the same 12 inches. So hovering right here. And let me tap the escape key. I don't want anything selected. And then let me tap the space bar, click off of everything. And now I come over here to offset. I'm going to hover right along the edge there. When it finds the edge, I give it a click. And then I'm going to offset it in 12 inches. So I type 12 and enter. And this is what I get. Now, all I'm going to do to keep this relatively simple and straightforward is just draw a line from this point down. And I want to make sure it's going straight down. So I'm going to constrain to blue axis with the down arrow and then let it constrain to that point. I'll do the same thing on the other side. Give that a click. Constrain to blue axis with the up arrow. Let it constrain to that endpoint. And then type E for erase and erase this line. And that is starting to look like that gable roof profile. See that? And now what I'm going to do is turn off my 3D walls because I want to focus on just the roof and also turn off my doors and windows. And then to finish this off, type P for push pull. Let it find that face, click on it, and just push it back all the way to the far end. And you see where it says it's going to snap to the edge. Let it do that and click. And you have that roof. Tap the space bar, turn on the 3D walls, and we are on our way. But like I said, we have to do something about the wall, so we'll get there in just a minute. But this is the gable roof. And now would probably be a good time to make a group out of that. So I'm going to triple click, right click, make group. I'll create a new tag. I'll call this one 3D roof gable. Select it and tag it. All right. So now comes this part where I have to take that front face and just keep moving it up. I'm going to come over here and I'll show you a quick way of doing that. And let's see, what's a really good way to show you? Okay, here we go. I'm going to double click in my group. Like that. Sorry, I went one too far. And then I'm going to double click on this face. And the reason I'm double clicking on that face is because I want this geometry. I basically just want the lines here. And really, the lines I want are the lower lines here, not the upper ones, but this is just going to save me some time. So I clicked on that, and then I'm going to go and click edit, and I'm going to say copy. So it's copying that information into the clipboard, and now I'm going to click off of it. And because I already put that on a tag, I want to see what happens when I put it back. So I'm going to see if I can turn off my 3D Gable. And I will try to click on edit and go to paste in place. Let's see what happens. All right. Looks good. And it shows me that it is untagged. That is what I wanted. And the reason I wanted that is because I want to make sure that I have the line work down here, not the upper line work. So next thing I want to do is I want to move this surface in line with the front of my building here. So since it's already selected, I'm going to type M for move. I'm going to angle it this way so I can get a better view of it. Maybe go under a little bit here like this. And then I'm going to click right here on this endpoint, give that a click, and then move it back. And I want to make sure it constrains to that axis. So I'm going to use the arrow key that's appropriate and let it go back and let it line up right there. You see how it says constrain on line intersect plane? That's good. I give that a click. Done. So now that's all lined up. And then the next thing I want to do is borrow that line work and draw myself a line from this endpoint up. So I'm going to type L for line, give that a click, take it straight up, let it constrain to blue axis, so up arrow key. And when it comes really close to that edge, notice how it says constrained on line intersect. That's what I want. I give that a click. And then tap the escape key. I'm still in the line mode, and it hasn't closed out because I need a line at the bottom. So I'm going to draw a line from this endpoint over to that endpoint. Let it hit the endpoint, or actually let it go past all the way to the other endpoint like this. And you see how it's created that? That's what I wanted. And I don't want anything else. And from this point, I can now go ahead and, let's see, tap the space bar, click off of the objects, and then just type E for erase and start erasing the lines. Now, let me turn off my walls and then start erasing. Click and drag, more clicking and dragging, more of the same over here. And I'm left with just that surface. Tap the space bar, turn on your 3D walls, and then give this a thickness. And to do that, I just need to type P for push pull, click on it, and then just let it match up with that edge. If it finds it, there we go. Endpoint and group, got it, click. So that's all done. That's it. All set. And then I'm going to tap the space bar. And now I'm thinking about this. Do I want to make a group out of it? Do I want to place it into the same group as my walls. I just have a lot that I'm thinking about. So I'm going to leave it alone for now because I want to add to this. So I'm just going to come over here. And I do need to return the wall. So I'm going to type L. I'm going to start a line from this endpoint straight up like this. Let it align or pick that edge. Let me constrain it to blue. There we go. So now anywhere I select along that intersect line, it'll pick it. Done. And then I'm going to type P for push pull. Click on this surface and then just bring it back so that it aligns to that surface. Or I guess I could take it all the way back to that surface too. That'll work. I'll give that a click. Okay. You see how I'm closing that out? And then I just need to do this area. And to do that, I'm going to tap the space bar. And SketchUp will still keep that information in the clipboard that I had copied earlier. So this should work if I do this again. I'll go to Edit, Paste in Place. So it brings back that same surface, the same geometry there. And again, I just want to borrow that angle. So what I'm going to do is move it back. So I type M. And then I just want to make this easy to see. Okay. Pick this endpoint here. Move it back along the axis. So constrain it to the axis there. And then let it find that endpoint or let it find that line intersect and give that a click. Done. You see how everything is lining up. So the next thing I want to do is draw some lines. So I'm going to type L. And I'll draw the line from this endpoint. Let me zoom out a little bit more. Let me pan it so you can see what I'm doing. If you don't feel comfortable picking this line or that line because you don't know where it is, you can go ahead and pick the outer line right there and just take it across like this. And then take it up. And notice how it fills that in. And then tap the space bar, turn off the walls so you can focus on just the roof. And I'll also turn off the base. There, makes it a little bit easier to see what I'm doing. And then from here, I'm just going to type P for push pull. Let me tap the escape key so nothing is selected. Hover, let it find that surface, give it a click. And I want to take it back so that it lines up with that face or that intersection. Give it a click. And yes, it does look to be reversed. No big deal. And notice what it did. You see that? It left a void in here. So to avoid that, I'm going to edit, undo, push, pull, and I'll start over. This time, I'm going to use my control key. So give this, let's see, I'm going to tap the control key and then click on it. And now it should work. And I'll orbit in this direction to get a better view so that I can let it snap to the face, to the midpoint, to the edge, give it a click, and now it's all set. And then it's going to be a matter of typing E and just click and drag, go around. The extra lines are no longer needed. Some more sitting back there. I'm going to turn on my X-ray mode so I can see the additional lines that should not be there. So that would be this one, that one, and then a couple more. And that's it. Turn off display mode, X-ray, space bar, and then turn on my 3D walls, and then turn on my 3D roof gable. And that's what it would look like. Almost done, not quite, but I wanted to show you how to model that. And then I'll turn off my 3D roof gable. And then I'm going to triple click the objects here right click. And for now, I think the best thing to do, well, here, let me pause here for a moment, because if you're debating between roof types, you may want to study the different roof types before committing to this one. But if you're already committed and you're saying, this is the roof I want, then here's what I would do. Triple click everything, come up here to edit and just cut it out. You'll see why in just a moment. And then I'm going to double click in my group of walls. And then I'm going to select edit, paste in place. And now it becomes part of my walls here. And the only thing I need to do is erase any extra lines. So tap the escape key, click outside of it, take a look at it, and then come back into it, double click, and then go to that X-ray mode. And it looks like I can erase this line because that's extra, and I can erase this one and this one. And it looks like that would be it on the inside. Along the outside, here, let me turn off X-ray mode for a moment. I would erase this line, and also let me switch this over so it displays, let's see, shading here. Okay. And then I'm going to erase this line because it's not necessary. This one and that one. And I'll look at it one more time, turning on X-ray mode. And I don't have any extra lines. That's good. I'm all set. Turn off the X-ray mode, and then I'll go back to displaying with my materials. It says activate photo real materials. I'm just going to click cancel for now. Don't need to do that right now. All right. And then I'm going to tap the space bar, click outside of the group, and I'm all set. That's what it would look like. On the back side, it's going to be the same. Let me show that to you. This one will go quicker. So I'm going to pick up the pace here a little bit. I'm going to go back to edit, paste in place because, oh no, I can't because this is what I pasted last. So I need to bring back my roof. So let's bring back the gable roof. And I'll tell you what, I'll start on the back side here like this. And then double click, triple click, oh no, double click on my face. And then edit, copy it, click away from it, and watch me jump straight into my group now. Double click my group. I'm going to come up here to edit, view, component edit. Let's hide the rest of the model because I just want to focus on my walls. And I'll go to edit, paste in place. So there it is. And now I just want to move this so it lines up with the wall. So let me get a good angle here so you can see what I'm doing. Something like this, I hope should work. M for move from this endpoint here, moving it back, constrain as needed, and then let it line up to that line there or the line here. Give it a click, and then draw a line along the bottom from here all the way across there. Fills that in. That's what I wanted. And then I'm going to come over to the back side. I'm just going to push pull this. Let me tap the escape key and then type P for push pull. Let it find that surface. Pull it back. Let's see. Is it going to leave it hollow on that side? Yes, it will. You see that? So let's tap the control key. There we go. That makes a copy. And then just let it line up to that endpoint there. Give that a click. And then finally E to erase the extra lines. Let me go to this side. And now would be a good time for the X-ray mode. So So we can see additional lines that need to get erased. And then if you want to, switch it over to hidden line mode, or I think where was I before? Using all the same colors. Yeah, that's a little easier to distinguish. So I'm going to erase this line because I don't need it. That one is not needed, and neither is that one. And now turn off display X-ray mode and then go back to the photoreal materials. I'm going to cancel that. And this is what it looks like. And notice, because I erased the line, it's going to take on those materials that were applied to the exterior face. Give it an orbit. Looks good. And then tap the space bar, click away from it. And this is what we have. I'll turn on my base and we're all set. But again, if you were doing some studies, you may hold off adding that portion, and then you can toggle between your flat roof and your hip roof. So I'm going to leave it at that for now, and we should be all set. Turn on my windows and turn on my gable roof, and then of course apply the materials as I did before. And we'll be all set. And then if needed, I can always throw a column out here just to carry that weight, but looks like it should be okay. Should be fine.